that people should be doing in advance to qualify for this benefit?
Well, because there is this asset cap, if your assets are above that threshold, you might want to start giving some thought to, do I need to be doing some things to either recharacterize those assets so they're not counted, i.e. buy that $500,000 house, or do I need to start looking at perhaps dispossessing myself of those, going ahead and making those early gifts to make those asset levels lower.
Okay.
And because if we know there's a 3-year look back, we know that if someone meets the qualifications, I've got the service record, I'm feeling okay now, but I'm 86 years old. And I realize that I'm one fall away, one stroke away from needing these services. It may make sense to take those extra assets that I've got and to place them somewhere else so that if that fall does come in 37 months or 60 months, then I'm immediately qualified for this benefit and I can stay at home and pay sitters with the assistance of that VA money to help pay for those things. So the question really comes, certainly you should do it if you're over-resourced. The question really becomes where? What's the appropriate place to place that money? And I mentioned earlier, giving it to a child. That's kind of a common answer that people, will think of. That's their knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
There are a lot of problems with that. Not the least of which is once you give it to the child, you got no control of it.
Belongs to the child.
It belongs to the child. It's the child's money now, and
Yeah.
so they can do with it whatever they want, and you can't really say anything about it. Even if you're not worried about your child doing something like that, how do you feel about their spouse? Because if that child dies, that money probably is going to belong to the spouse or your grandchild, and you may have you'll no say so in what happens to that money at that point. In addition, there are other things that are not predictable and are no fault of your child, like the child gets sued because of a car wreck, or the child gets in a bad business deal, or the economy just tanks.
Yeah.
Just like it did in 2008. There were a lot of people that went bankrupt that were good, responsible people, but the economy couldn't support what they were doing. Any of those things could cause the loss of your funds. So we never advise clients to transfer the money directly to children, but they got to get out of their name because if it's in their name, it's countable. And so the place that we generally recommend putting it is in a trust. And there's a special type of trust that is ideal for this. It's designed specifically for this, called a Patriot Trust. It's a trust that's designed for veterans to hold their assets where they can retain maximum control of it, where it's protected from third-party creditors, it's protected from their children's divorces, it's protected from lawsuits and such, but it's not counted as theirs. And so it's outside of their name for VA purposes and starts our 3-year clock running for VA qualification.
Okay.
And by the way, it also starts the clock running for Medicaid qualification. So 3 years after we put assets in that Patriot Trust, they're exempt for VA purposes, and 5 years after that, they're exempt for Medicaid purposes.
Okay.
So.